Well, Hell House LLC, everybody. My name is JD with We Watch Shudder. Who's here with me? I've already made a nightmare of this, Michelle. It's Michelle, guys. I didn't even let her answer the question. How's it going, Michelle?
I was ready with a pun and everything. Because you said, well, hello, or Hell House, hello, whatever. And I was going to introduce myself as Michelle House.
Oh,
my name
and I fucked it all up. God, well, and that's pretty typical if you're tuning in for the first time. JD fucks things up, and Michelle has to pick up the pieces.
I don't understand. You're the one who started the intro.
What happens is eventually I get bored and things feel repetitive, and so I gotta jazz it up a little bit.
Okay, that's
and
fair. Let's jazz it up.
I'm willing to fall on my face a few times rather than just ride that same bucket. Ride that bucket? I don't know what that even means, Michelle, but we're jazzing it up.
You ride
a
bucket.
This is We Watch Shudder. If this is your first time tuning in, thank you. We appreciate it. What we do is right there in the title. I think it's pretty self-explanatory. And we're watching Shudder today. We watched Shudder today. I just got done watching Shudder 8 minutes ago. What are we watching, Michelle?
We have watched Hell House, LLC Origins, the Carmichael Manor.
I'm going to stop you right there. What the fuck is up with that title? How many words do you need? Jiminy Christmas. Now, obviously, that's not... I'm not going to be judging no books by their covers, right? But I'm judging that cover, and that cover is way too big.
I immediately tried to think of titles that are longer because obviously some exist, and the only movie title I can think of is Fern Gully. Nothing else is coming into my head, just Fern Gully, and it's not even a long title, but it's like I forgot every other movie.
Fern Gully: The Last Rainforest is the full title?
Yes, that one.
The one that always pops to mind for me is Master and Commander: The Far Side of the World, and also, if you want to get real technical about it, The Lord of the Rings: The Return of the King is kind of a mouthful, but nobody calls it that. It's just Return of the King.
I immediately forgot both those movies. I'm just thinking about Fern Gully again.
Yeah.
Robin Williams voiced a bat.
Origins, the Carmichael Manor.
Great.
That's what we're watching. If you're familiar with that, Michelle actually turned me on to the Hell House franchise.
Whoa! Cut that clip. Make that our next TikTok video.
No, you're gonna make sure you explain it to your husband first, Michelle. Let's not.
He knows I'm fine.
Here.
He can't even blame nobody for that. Anyway,
so
yes.
Yeah, so Hell House LLC Origins Carmichael Manor, fourth entry in the Hell House LLC found footage franchise that popped up back in 2015. And we got back-to-back sequels in 2018 and 2019 on Shudder. And now we are finally revisiting this franchise again. Michelle, since you were the one who first got me looking at these films, why don't you tell us your overall thoughts on the franchise and what you were feeling going into this film?
Okay. Actually, I was going to talk about that a little bit anyway when we get to the review.
I think here's what I guess right away up front, guys. Again, this is the fourth film in this franchise. And this is a franchise where the stories are very interconnected. So I have to believe if you've already watched this film and you're listening along, you've seen all four of them. If you haven't, I'm just going to warn you, we can't talk about this film in detail without talking about the other three films in some level of detail. There's going to be spoilers for the whole franchise here. If you want to see those movies before we get into that, even though this is the fourth title, make sure when we get to the spoiler section that you stop the episode, because this will be spoilers for more than just this movie. But anyway, then, yeah, go ahead, Michelle.
Yeah. Also, you only need to see the first one, so it's okay. And probably the stuff that we spoil for you is not going to spoil the scares. It's
for sure.
We can't tell you the atmosphere, so just a heads up. Sometimes I would say you have to see this before listening, Jenna. Um,
She's
I
gonna
told
be
her,
so mad at you,
I know,
Michelle.
I told her I'm gonna keep shit talking her because I'm the one with the microphone.
You're
Okay,
gonna
so
keep shiitake mushrooming her?
yeah, that's a joke from Spy Kids. Good job.
Oh, is it
Um,
really?
it is.
I didn't know
Uh,
that. I've never
okay.
seen Spy Kids.
Well, add that to your Spooktober list. You got one day left.
I gotta watch
All right.
Suitable Flesh tomorrow.
Hell House LLC. The first one I had watched many years ago and scared the shit out of me, and I love it. And I am a found footage fanatic, and I was very, very spooked and uncomfortable and so into it. A lot of people I know who have said that they never get scared by horror movies were also scared by Hell House LLC. So I feel a little more emboldened to say that it is very, very good. And I was so excited about that one that when the sequel came out, I was fully excited. And then the sequel I tried to watch it twice and I turned it off both times because it was just it I don't want to say it was bad but it
It
was
wasn't
not
working for you.
good. Yes. But then I heard people saying like you need to just stick it out and it does get better. It just starts off so rough that I went I can't do this for an hour and a half and then it does eventually get into the pace of things. The third one is fine. It's definitely better than the second one. The second one just it really did not click. But the second one also, once it did get into it, also scared the shit out of me at certain points, which made me so upset. Because I was like, I did not like this movie. This is my third time trying to get through it, and yet still when it gets going, it still scared me. So that's kind of my history with the movies, is that even when I haven't loved one of them, there's still really, really creepy stuff going on. JD, you just watched all three for the first time in quick succession.
Well, no, I watched 2 and 3 for the first time. I had seen the original once before. If memory serves, Michelle and I had gotten into a discussion about found footage, and I know she's in general a bigger fan of the genre than I am. And I think I had asked for a couple of specific recommendations, and the first Hell House LLC was one that she suggested I check out. I remember the first time I saw it. I don't think I was aggressively against it, but at the time I recall that it didn't really do anything for me. I wasn't really found footage is just not a flavor that always appeals to me, and it's got to be done really, really, really well. Also, a lot of the time, it's got to have something that I haven't seen before. And going back and watching, because yeah, I did. I watched. I figured if I'm gonna watch and discuss the fourth film in the franchise, I have a responsibility as a journalist or whatever people say to be aware of everything that came before. So I rewatched the first film. I watched the second and the third. I can tell you this much: after seeing the first one a second time, I think I'm more positive on it than I was the first time. My first observation on it is I really think the first film would have worked for me personally a lot better if it was just a normal film. Nothing different about it. The plot the same, a lot of the spooky elements the same. If it had just been a normal narrative third-person film rather than a found footage film, I think I would have been able to get into it a lot more. With that being said, I'm right there with you. 2 and 3 lost me completely. I can't even say that I felt like 3 was superior to 2 because neither one of them worked for me in any way at all. I thought there were some interesting plot elements in the first one that were part of what made me think that would work better as a normal narrative. 2 and 3 get into some areas in the story that are just not things that interest me. And so that brought us to number 4, which is Hell House LLC Origins, the Carmichael Manor. You want to hit these people with the spoiler-free descripty script from Shudder? Is it spoiler-free this time? I hope so.
Spoiler light at the very most. And yes, I would love to hit these people with it.
Hit them with it right across the dome.
Oh, well, they're going to definitely survive that. I'm a very weak person. So
Just punch them in the Abaddon Hotel.
my punch is like a light breeze on a cold day. Anyway, okay. Internet sleuths travel to Carmichael Manor in Rockland County, New York, site of the 1989 Carmichael family murders. They find a terror that's lurked in the shadows long before Hell House LLC. Hell House LLC origins, the Carmichael Manor. JD, I would like to hear your spoiler-free thoughts on this one.
My spoiler-free thoughts on this one is I think this is from a it's still not for me, right? It didn't really connect on a whole lot of levels. I didn't I wasn't just riveted the whole way. But I definitely liked it more than I liked 2 and 3. And I think at least on like the scares level and just the horror show craft of it, this one actually might be my favorite of the franchise. There were several things they did in this one that I thought were really clever, really interesting, and really effective. And so I really appreciated that. So I don't know for sure if I would say I thought it was a better movie than the first one. I would say they're probably on a par. And as an experience, again, just because, found footage isn't I could easily give this a 3 skull. This was an okay watch. I don't regret that I spent my time with it.
I regret that you spent your time with it. I don't know what that means. It just seems like a funny rebuttal in my head.
You're a towel.
Yes, I am. Would you like to hear my thoughts, JD?
I absolutely would love to hear your spoiler-free thoughts, Michelle.
Oh, thank God, because I'm going to give them anyway, and it's just better if you're on board with that. So there were a couple things working against my thoughts on this movie, even though I didn't want those ideas before I started, because I had very high hopes given how much I loved the first movie, but I was also very worried with how much I disliked the second and the third. So I tried really hard to push all of that out, and I would like to say that the things that I didn't like about this movie were hopefully not influenced too heavily by my thoughts on the previous movies. Thinking about it quite a bit afterwards, because I did watch it earlier today, I've had a little bit of time to marinate in the sauce and think about it a little bit. God, I just made myself hungry. I forgot to eat supper tonight. So
marinated in the sauce.
Yeah, some nice Jay's no, was it the Sweet Baby
sauce?
Yeah,
Sweet Baby Ray's.
Yeah, thank you, Ray's. Anyway,
Tasty.
so I think what I ultimately didn't like about it. Okay, let me start over. I don't hate it.
Right.
I just feel kind of like tepid towards it, and I think I'm just disappointed because I thought by the fourth movie I would see something brand new. I do like that they went back to something a little bit more basic where they're giving you a lot of story from the other movies and they're explaining it, but they're not getting absurd like they did with the second and third one where it's just like, okay, I don't need like this dead guy coming back to tell me his whole plan with his cult. Like that was too much for me, but this also didn't scare me a single time, and I think that was just really disappointing. Yeah, because if it's not scary to me, then what's the point for this one? Like Hell House, it scared me even in the movies that I didn't like. This, I never even felt a tiny bit shooketh. But overall,
that's interesting.
I know. I think that's why it just kind of makes me sad. But I am going to go with the 3.25. I don't think it's bad. I think the acting's good. There's a lot of stuff I like with the camera, but I just never was afraid or even a little bit uneasy during it. So 3.25.
No, that's so interesting because, like I said, from my perspective, I feel like this has some of the most effective scares in the franchise.
Ooh.
So I feel like this is gonna be
section.
Yeah, I think this is gonna be a fun discussion. So, guys, if you want to see the film before we spoil a bunch of things for you, this is where you're gonna want to hit the pause button. Okay, Jenna, did you go watch the film?
Yeah, Jenna.
Oh God, what am I doing? I don't need to make her hate me too.
Yeah, just hate me, Jenna. JD had nothing
Michelle.
to do with it.
Anyway, so we always, for those of you who didn't go and watch the film, Jenna, if you want to have an understanding of what's going on here, Michelle is going to give you her patented, ever popular freestyle recap of Hell House LLC Origins: The Carmichael Manor.
Yeah, here's my recap. Jenna didn't watch the movie before listening to the episode. I just really hope that everybody like makes this a big meme. Like someday when we are super famous podcasters and we've quit our jobs and we just get mobbed all the time by fans, I hope they're just like, God damn it, Jenna. Jenna just knows she started a thing. Anyway, okay, my actual recap
We're just
of
going to have t-shirts made that say Jenna didn't watch the movie.
yes, I love that. Okay, so Margot and Rebecca, they decide to go to the Carmichael Manor where there was a terrible, terrible thing that happened with people getting murdered, but there was only one set of footprints leading from the house. And when you only see one set of footprints leaving from the house, that's when I carried you, or some shit, however that footprints Jesus poem goes. So that had happened and it was kind of creepy. And now they're like, man, it's haunted. We should go check that out. And they decide to stay there for a whole bunch of nights, 5 exactly. And then the one girl, Margot, she has a brother. His name's Chase, and he's kind of messed up. And I get that. Me too, Chase. I feel ya. And so she brings him along so that she can keep an eye on him. And then, oh no, she didn't keep an eye on him, and now he's gone. And there's a clown, and he just keeps showing up in different spots, but he's not like a funny clown. He's like an Art the Clown where you really just don't want him around. No birthday parties for this guy. But he just like keeps showing up places and they're like, hey, knock it off. And he just like leers at them. Why the fuck does the clown look like that? It shouldn't look like that. It obviously this clown existed before. It was like a creepy haunted thing. Why did they design it to look like that clown in particular? It makes no sense to me. And then eventually, like Margot and Rebecca, bad things happen to them, and then the Carmichael Manor, it rains on, and a clown tried to take Rebecca or Margot, whichever, when they were little. The end. My synopsises are usually a little funnier, but I just feel so lackluster towards this one, and I'm sad.
Well, why don't you dig into telling us why you're
Yeah.
sad, Michelle?
Well, I wanted to be scared. Even if I didn't like anything else, that's the one thing I expected, and I never felt even a little bit of my gibblies getting rustled.
Oh, that's interesting. Like a couple of things that jump out right to mind, even just very basic things. So the first time when so it's that sequence where they're all kind of having I don't know if it's an argument or just a conversation. It all blends together in this movie. They're very much constantly shifting temperament. But it's that moment where Margot and Chase are going upstairs to investigate the noise, and what was the other lady's name, Michelle?
Rebecca and Margot.
Rebecca. She's staying down at the base of the stairs with another camera in case they need a new perspective on things, and also because she's real scared and doesn't want to go up there, and I get it. And so they go in that room, and when they walk in and turn, there's the clown guy standing there, which was all right, but we all knew that was coming, right? But then the follow-up moment to that, when Rebecca downstairs like goes into that closet where she hears a noise, and she turns, and that other fucking clown is like right up close there in the closet with her. I thought that was fucking intense. Like that one genuinely got me. That didn't catch you for nothing?
No. And I think
Like,
part
they
of it is like the scares that have gotten me in these movies have never really been clown centered. I guess you could say like there have been a
Okay.
couple moments where like you'll see the head turn and they're like, "Oh shit, I'm going to die." Or like you'll see them standing off. But the clown has never been the focal point of the other movies. He's definitely been there. And he's definitely caused some spooky moments, but I never found him so much scary. It was more like this unknown presence, and that's like the number one scare tactic that they use in this movie. So they took something that I have never really found scary. It got me a couple times, and that was the thing that they used throughout. And I think that's why I
Sure.
just like never. I was like, it's just the clown guy again. I know about him. I've seen him. Show me something new.
Okay, so what about then that sequence where Rebecca is on the Zoom meeting or whatever with her boss, and they
Mhm.
start looking at that collection of pictures, and she, like, Rebecca, of course, knows immediately that it's the house she's in, And then we slowly realize that, oh, there's a person there. Oh, fucking shit, it's her. And then there's this person there, and you can't see her, and then she's just fucking there. That didn't do nothing for you?
Found it really interesting. I did not get scared a
Yeah.
single bit during it. That and another thing that I can say like didn't scare me, which like you guys, I'm not trying to brag and say like, oh, this didn't scare me. Like I really wanted to be scared. But the like Chase's whole disappearance bit was very interesting to me, just not scary at all. I think it's just because like it's mostly the clown, and then the Rebecca part I know was like the lady, but then they showed the lady, and I didn't find her scary either. It's just every time they show me the thing, I was like, oh, it's a clown, or oh, it's a creepy lady. So there's a lot of stuff that I found really interesting. Like I had mentioned, I really like the camera work in this. You can even tell just like looking at the IMDb page, the stills that they grab are so pretty, and that's rare for like a found footage movie. Like they found a great way to frame these shots despite having handheld cameras. Like or the people in here are like just holding cameras and not professional camera people. Like they still found a way to like really make the camera work effectively. And then still seem like these are amateur people who just happen to have a camera to try to catch things.
Sure.
So there were interesting moments. There were some good like things. I didn't get scared.
Oh, that's too bad. Yeah, like I said, I
know.
personally I found several of the horror tactics very effective. Another one that I really liked was in one of the older 8 or 16 millimeter film sequences from that film that they find in the clock. There's that one shot where the film is out of sync for a moment, and so it's not lined up on your screen, and then it lines back up. But like moments after it lines back up, it glitches just briefly, and then all of a sudden, like all the fucking clowns are in the mirror watching this lady, and she doesn't see them there at all. That was really well done. That one wasn't so much of a jump, but I thought that was really well done.
Interesting, yeah.
Yeah, I just I personally thought a lot of those things were done really effectively here. How about in the overall scope of the story and the progression of that from the first movie going forward? How did you feel about that in this film? Because I personally, like I said, thought definitely from a story perspective, like I kind of wish the franchise had just gone from the first one directly to this one.
That's actually what I was about to say. Like if you watch
Oh,
the
cool.
first one, then you watch this one, you don't have to watch the second and third.
I think
And
I agree. I think you could very easily get away with just not watching. And I don't want to, guys. I mean, you like what you're gonna like, right? I always have this anxiety about how I'm gonna talk about things that I didn't enjoy. But no, I feel like you could do that. You could just watch the first one and then this one, and they would work together just fine.
yeah. Because I watched the third and the fourth, and then I had messaged you and said, after watching all three of them, I feel pretty confident that you're going to have to see them before the fourth one comes out. So I'd message you, like, give you a heads up of like, okay, I've seen them all now. Now that I know how story heavy the second and third one are, you're probably gonna have to. And then actually watching this, I don't feel that way anymore. I definitely think you could skip the second and third. There are still pieces of the story obviously in each of those movies, but this one
Right.
kind of runs parallel to the other stories going on, so it kind of like it doesn't explain things from existing movies. It's kind of its own independent thing, but it does interweave so that you hear about what went on at the Abaddon Hotel, but
Yeah.
our story is about the manor, and there's
Right.
just
And
kind of like some overlap there.
I honestly feel like, I mean, I guess I would have to watch it again and focus a little bit harder because I wasn't paying attention for this specific thing. But if memory serves, the only real major plot point from the second and third movies that's discussed in any level of detail is Andrew Tully and his family, right? The fact that he was the person who owned the hotel and he started this cult, right? And I don't think they ever mentioned that name specifically in the first movie, But I feel like that's the only detail that you would need maybe a little extra backgrounding on, is just, wait, who is this Abel Tully guy? They never talk about the podcast or new YouTube show or whatever, that investigative journalist show that center the second and third movies center around. They never mention that whatsoever. They never mention either of those incidents. They only ever talk about like the Tully incident and then the first Hell House LLC thing. And so I agree with you definitely. Although part of my issue with 2 and 3 is my issue with a lot of stuff like this is the way they retrofit things to be able to continue the story. There was nothing in the set. Like, they immediately became these like demonic possession, and then they're talking about angels in the third one and all this stuff, and like deals with the devil, and I'm just like, I don't need that here. I like hooded robes and pentagrams on the wall is plenty of context for me. All right, like, I understand. And it became just a level of depth into that kind of the story, that, and then like it starts to get into the same sort of thing that we've talked about, and we'll definitely talk about in an episode coming up, about the more entries into a franchise you have and the more events that take place, the more preposterous it becomes that all of this stuff is connected, and it just becomes harder and harder for me to deal with. What I liked about this movie is, frankly, I feel like you could re-edit this movie, maybe just change the words in the script a little bit, maybe add 1 or 2 individual extra scenes, and this could just be its own movie called Carmichael Manor.
Yeah, I have no objection to anything you said, except when you hinted at the franchise that we plan on covering later, and you said that it's harder to enjoy it as the series goes on, because you're very wrong there, and we will argue about that during that episode.
It just becomes more and more absurd and preposterous, Michelle.
Well, this is the 4th one in this franchise, and it got less absurd and preposterous. So
This is true. That doesn't often happen.
Yeah, it definitely simplified. And
I guess my to be clear, my point that I was trying to make there is, a lot of the times where this movie did start to lose me a bit were in the scenes where they were talking about the Abaddon Hotel and trying to connect it into that story, because my personal experience with that story is unfortunately already not positive. Then the effort this movie makes to connect itself to that is going to inherently be detrimental for me. Obviously, if you like these movies and you've enjoyed this franchise, and clearly a lot of people have because they keep making the damn things, then this will probably be really good for you. But that's just, that's another aspect of franchise filmmaking, I think, that especially the further in you have to contend with, is how does your opinion of the earlier films affect your experience of the later films?
Despite feeling very tepid towards this one, like I said, it's not bad. It just didn't really do much for me. They did clearly set it up for a 5th one, and I'm very excited about that.
Did you watch all the way to the end of the credits?
I did.
Okay.
So they set it up for the 5th one, talking about the amusement park or whatever that place is called.
Yeah, and I gotta be honest, there are broad strokes in the plotting of this franchise that I don't dislike. I like that idea of how it's like, a little bit that we get in the story in this movie is that those clowns came from a carnival game, and the people who played those clowns were part of this cult. But now we're going to obviously move this into a carnival amusement park sort of situation, county fair, whatever. And I get the feeling that 5th film is going to be real ambitious. I think we might see them step out in ways that could be very interesting. For me, just a lot of those moments where it tried to connect back to the franchise started to pull me out. One thing I did want to point out, like from a visual style, something I love is you and I actually talked, I believe, off air, off recording, about like what they could possibly do with the next VHS installment. Maybe it was
Oh, yeah.
on the episode, and we
We
talked
kind of
about.
talked a little bit both. Yeah.
Yeah, and so I talked about the idea of maybe doing like something where we go back and it's still a VHS, but it's VHS transfers of old like Super 8 or 16 millimeter home videos, so you could go back before the time of VHS cameras. And here we see that concept active in this film. Which I know is, I mean, as a found footage thing, is not entirely original, but I thought it was used really effectively here. It still, unfortunately, does the preposterous thing of, I've said it several times in the last few weeks, preposterous is my new favorite word. That thing that you, at this point, you have to just accept about most found footage films, which is the one question that I still can't stop asking myself, is who the fuck would keep holding that camera and filming all of this? Like, how did they not just drop that camera and get the fuck out of there? There's no way I could ever keep a camera going in a tense situation like this. And for some reason, it felt even sillier in the past sequences, but that's something I've just made my peace with. You have to accept it as part of the conceit of found footage. Some movies do a good job of explaining that, but it's something that I don't really have an issue with, regardless of how silly it might be. But I really enjoyed those old shot on film home movie kind of things. I think that could be an interesting concept.
I wrote a list of things that I wanted to respond to.
Go ahead.
Okay, amusement park, going all the way back there. I'm excited to see what they do because I don't think I've ever seen a found footage movie done in an amusement park or a carnival or anything. I've seen lots of horror movies that take place in carnivals, amusement parks. I actually just rewatched Hellfest for Spooktober, and I don't think I've seen it in found footage. I feel like is he both writer and director? Hang on, Steve. Yes, okay. Writer director Stephen Cognetti has been doing the Hell House franchise, and I feel like I trust him to do a lot of found footage stuff more than other people. So I'm curious to see what he does with that if we do get a fifth movie,
Hang
which
on.
I feel pretty sure. Yes.
So you really enjoyed one of the films and were not fond of or blah at best on the rest of the three, and yet you trust him to do an amusement park found footage film well?
I trust him because of the first and the fourth movie.
I know.
I don't talk about the second and the third.
That's
As
fair.
far as I'm concerned.
That's fair.
But I mean,
I do
if
the
it was
same
just,
thing with Halloween.
yeah,
I can't blame you.
yeah, no, exactly. Where like the first one, the fourth one. I mean, this is just his thing. All he's done full length wise, as far as I know, is Hell House movies. So he has a grasp of this universe and the thing that he wants to convey. And that's why, like, I mean, obviously, evil clowns, they belong in a carnival. Maybe that will scare me because now the clown doesn't feel weird, just like standing in my room and I'm like, please let me leave, Mr. Clown. And he's like, nuh-uh, bitch. But like, if I'm at a carnival and I'm like, can I leave? And he's like, no, you live here with me now. Like, that sounds way scarier than a clown trying to keep me in my house. I don't want to leave my house. I'll stay in my house, Mr. Clown. We'll hang out. We'll play GameCube games. It'll be great. But yeah, so amusement park, and I feel like he might win me back over with the clown being creepy. I hope he does. I hope he does. That's all I can say about that. And then the other thing I forgot.
I thought you wrote a list, Michelle.
I metaphorically,
Fair
I was
enough.
convinced I was going to have responses for like five things that you said because you transitioned to like the next point
I
so
did.
quickly, and
I
then
do that sometimes. I'm sorry.
I know that's why I usually physically write lists, but I just don't have it in me tonight. It's been a day. It has
It's
been
been a
such a day.
day.
Oh, okay.
Go
Here's
ahead.
I
Go ahead.
remembered. I remembered. Okay. You said you don't understand why people would film in that situation. I think we're just of a different generation. Because when I have had spooky things happen to me, immediately grab my camera or my phone rather and start filming it. Because then I can watch it back later and see what was that thing. I can show people what happened. Like I actually had like a very spooky thing happen earlier today where I went downstairs to get something out of a closet and there was this crazy sound coming from the back of the basement and I went looking for it and I thought it was like the water heater acting up or something crazy. It was just this really low rumbling. And then right when I got to where it was, there was like a growl and then it stopped. Turns out my husband's toys from his childhood out of nowhere, right when I got to the bottom of the steps in the basement, one of them started going off. And it wasn't until I was right in its vicinity that stopped. I was so spooked. I immediately grabbed my camera so I could film and be like, what the fuck? Is there going to be more? My cat was freaking the fuck out. It was weird. But I think we're just different in that, like, I immediately started filming so that I could see if something more
Oh,
happened and catch it.
sure. And I think that's definitely part of it. I guess what I mean is more a matter of simply, though, like, if for whatever reason I happened to already be at a place shooting video of something for some reason, and then something fucking crazy happened and people start dying and there are spooky ghosts and shit, I'm not going to continue filming, right? At some point, I'm going to be so fucking terrified and cowardly because, bro, cowardly lion over here. I'm not afraid to admit it. I would just fucking drop that camera and run. It's not a matter of not thinking to videotape. It's a matter of being a complete fucking wimp.
No, I would absolutely keep recording because if I'm going to die, I want it recorded. Like if I'm going to die from that, like something crazy, like a ghost fucks me up, record it, please. Please.
I,
I
I,
want people to know that's how I went out.
I do want to point out that I certainly appreciated that because, like I said, some movies at least make an effort to try and explain that. And in this movie, they're having that argument right towards the end there. And Rebecca's like, do you really have to be filming right now? And Margot is like, yes, actually, considering the circumstances, I should be filming fucking everything that happens to us right now. And I understand the point there. But yeah, again, for me, it's more of just like a terror fight or flight thing. I would probably throw. What would happen is a ghost or a spooky thing would jump out from behind a counter or a couch or something at me. I would fucking scream. I would chuck the camera at it and try to run away.
I would stand there and be like, please take me. I've lived long enough. I am too long for this
yes,
mortal
Michelle,
world.
we've well established that you're more of a man than I am. I get it.
I'm gonna fuck those ghosts. I won't. I'm very soft. If I'm more of a man than you are, I'm a very soft man.
I know you were trying to ultimately say I would fuck those ghosts up, but you stopped early and just said I would fuck those ghosts, and this has gotten
I
real
said what
weird.
I said. I said what I said. I always think it's very funny, like how as we talk about movies, we figure out how very different we are because in this case, I would continue filming and stay there and you would like piece the fuck out immediately. And then we have a movie like Speak No Evil where I would piece the fuck out immediately and without spoiling, or no, I would stay there for the sake of like not being impolite and you would piece the fuck. I guess maybe never mind. Maybe you just piece the fuck out.
Yeah.
Every chance you get. Never mind. I was gonna say like we are very diverse, but I would stay.
I do not have a fight or flight response. I have a fucking flight response, and that's all it does. That's all it does.
I don't have either. I have like a deer in headlights response to everything. Of just like I'll stand here and see what happens.
My patron saint is Brave Sir Robin from Monty Python and the Holy Grail. Fucking, and people who know will get that reference. If you don't know, go watch Monty Python and the Holy Grail. Change your fucking life.
That's a freaking movie. Have you heard of that
awesome
movie?
They're doing.
Have
you heard they're doing a like it's like a 33.5-year anniversary re-release in theaters or whatever, 43.5-year or whatever the fuck it is, because of course they are.
Yeah, no, I did not hear that. I did.
Well, you've heard it now, Michelle. You've heard it now.
I did hear that they have a 30-year release, or like remastering or something of the Halloween Tree, which is one of my favorite movies of all time. So I'm gonna watch that. That's my
Cool.
remake that I care
They
a lot
announced
about.
they announced today that we're finally getting a sequel to It Follows called They
Yep,
Follow,
they
once again
follow.
starring Micah Monroe. I
Mm-hmm.
I was not personally the biggest fan of It Follows, mostly because of how it ends. But there are things about it that I really enjoyed, and one of the things about it that I really enjoyed and continue to enjoy in a lot of things is Micah fucking Monroe. If you haven't seen some of the stuff that she's been in, she's fucking fantastic. I specifically recommend Watcher from Chloe Akuno. God damn, what a movie that was.
Now that we've been doing the podcast longer, I feel like I could definitely debate you on that movie in a lot more solid fashion than I represented when it was our first fight on the episode. And I
we
was like,
might have
oh
to
God, oh no, I'm so sweaty.
we might have
Oh.
to do that at some point. Is have like rematches, go back and revisit some of those early titles and see what we could glean
Oh.
from them.
Yeah, but here's the thing, defending why I didn't like that movie makes me feel like a bad person because the whole message is like believe women and I'm like, yeah, but I didn't.
No.
I was watching this happen. And so then I feel like a dick where like they're like, yeah, you should believe women and I'm like, yeah, but I'm watching the movie that you put together and I didn't believe it. So
That's so
it makes me
wild,
feel
Stu,
like
to
a
me
dick.
still to this day because I would totally understand why she was fucking terrified.
Yeah. Anyway.
Also, all those fucking people talking different languages around her when they know she can't speak it, incredibly rude. We had that big argument for quite a few
I'm
minutes on
gonna
that episode.
fight more about
Anyway,
that later.
I don't really have anything else to say about LLC. Hell, LLC. Hell House LLC Origins of the Carmichael Manor. Do you have anything specific left that you would like to say about Hell House LLC Origins of the Carmichael Manor, Michelle?
Just that I wanted to love it so badly.
Yeah,
I'm
just
really
just
disappointed.
just reiterate how much you think the movie is trash and everybody
Oh, shut
involved should just never make another film ever again. I get it. I see where you're coming from.
Yeah, but if Stephen Cognetti is not making Hell House, what is he doing? Like this is his full name things are Hell House.
Oh, that
Like
is
what
actually
else?
something that slipped my mind earlier because we do this all stream of consciousness. I bet there's a lot of podcasts out there that like prepare in advance and shit. They're all professional. Anyway,
No.
even as somebody who this story doesn't work for me, I'm not connected to this. I haven't been brought into the franchise really. You can still tell that this is a guy who definitely has a plan. Right? There are stories in mind, and there are things that I think feel pretty obviously that they had to be retrofit to move things along, but I've certainly seen much more ridiculous displays of the same thing. The guy definitely has a mythology in mind. Everything is linking. There are things that pop up in 1 and 2 and 3 that are there in such a way, like that photo of the painting of the girl above the mantelpiece from the Abaddon Hotel. Like they that thing appears in the background in very conspicuous ways for 3 movies, and they never tell you a fucking thing about it, and you finally learn what it is. In this one, I just like the guy definitely has he knows what he's trying to do. And again, even as somebody who didn't necessarily connect with the story, I am very curious to see where this goes. I feel like this amusement park thing has the energy and the scope of a potential big finish. Maybe he's finally going to wrap this up and try to move on to other things. But I'm real curious to see how this plays out.
Because of the image that they used on the movie, I keep reading the title as Hell House LLC Origins, the Carmichael Myers, because the clown looks so much like Michael Myers. And that's a silly thing that you guys can do now too. Try to unsee it. You can't. It's Michael
LLC, the
Myers.
Carmichael Myers.
Yeah, I would love that. I would like if Hell House, LLC, and Michael Myers joined forces.
That
Oh
would
my
be
God. If that had
interesting.
been Michael Myers instead of the clown, way scarier. I think I just don't find the clown scary. I shouldn't say that too loudly because the clown might hear and the clown might show up. And I really, it's officially Halloween as we record this. And I don't need a clown to show up to my house.
That's fair.
That would be
Ah,
great.
another thing that actually, man, this is part of what I love about a stream of consciousness thing is if we babble long enough, we'll all remember things. You actually
We're
mentioned
also
earlier,
Midwestern, so we have an
for sure.
impossible time of saying
Oh
goodbye.
yeah, this is a circuitous route, man. We're taking the scenic version. If you didn't come for that, I'm
Circuitous.
sorry. Circuitous, yeah. It's a
I don't
Jeremy
know if that's
Bearimy.
the right
Some of you will get
emphasis.
that reference.
Oh,
Some of you won't.
okay. I got
So, you actually mentioned early on that you thought the performances here were really good. I agree. I especially really liked that sort of penultimate scene where after uh, Margot and Rebecca have gone into the woods and ultimately they run into the hooded guys and then they run through the woods back to the Carmichael Manor and they're in that bedroom and it's just the two of them. It's that same scene where she says, "This is absolutely I should be filming everything."
Yep.
There's some real good character work there and some excellent performances. I especially really like the actress who played Margot because all you get is her voice in that scene. Rebecca at least gets to emote with her face and her body, and she's the visual centerpiece of that scene. And watching her reactions, I thought it was really great. But also, again, just the things that Margot did with her voice and the emotional level that she got to without being able to see her on screen. I was really impressed with that sequence. I really, really liked that, and I'm glad we babbled long enough that I remembered that I wanted to mention it.
Yeah. And again, that's also one of those scenes where I went, wow, the camera work in this is really good because
Yeah.
of that. And the way that they throw the camera down on the bed, you know exactly what's happening, but you can still watch. It's not like it turns away or anything.
Right.
And then she immediately picks it up and the action continues. Or that moment where she's like, oh, let me show you how to make a bed. See, it's nice and clean. It's not so hard. And she turns around and then the lady's on the bed. All of that is such good camera work, especially for a found footage film. Like this
Yeah.
doesn't feel found footagey at a lot of moments. So
No, you know what it
I
does feel like?
appreciate what Stephen Cognetti is doing. I
Another
wanted to be
thing that
scared.
I'm glad you mentioned, because early on in the movie there was a moment. It's the scene where I think where what was the brother's name? I'm terrible with names. Chase.
Chase. I was going
When
with
Chase
Carter.
first sees the creepy mask girl down at the end of the hallway, there's non-diegetic music in that scene, right? Like there's score music, like music that's not being created by anything in the scene. It's just mood background music. And for a while I was like, that's something you're not supposed to do in a found footage movie. And then I remembered, well, it's not actually a found footage movie. I mean, it is, but it's a mockumentary using found footage. And once I remembered to click that in my head, which I think is a brilliant gimmick for found footage because it allows you to do those things. And if somebody says, what's going on? You say, like, well, it's as if you watched this program on TV. They added it in post for effect, right? And so I really enjoyed that. And I enjoy that. So many of my favorite found footage movies play out more in a mockumentary style like that, and I really appreciate that in this franchise. Again, even as somebody who's not the biggest fan of it overall.
I'm in complete agreement for that exact same reason that it does allow you to edit without being like, wait, this was edited by who? Like this feels like,
Right.
oh, I actually found this. I turned on a channel on TV and I watched this thing like in totality. Like this is what was presented to me. And it's not like police found this in a box and it just happened to be edited. Like what happened between,
Right.
I really want to, either see it edited and there's a reason why, or I want to see cameras getting turned on and off. Like, don't lose me because I realize that you're editing, please.
For sure,
I
for
beg
sure.
you.
So, we're coming up on 50 minutes of talking about Hell House. I'm not going to try and say the name ever again.
Hell House LLC Origins the Carmichael Myers.
Right. This is I think actually our 33rd episode in 32 days, because we had one on the last day of September, and then we also had the best of September bonus episode, and then 33 episodes in 32 days. We made it through another goddamn Spooktober. How do you feel about yourself?
I am tired.
You and me both. And I think that, what the fuck else is there to say? I got to get this edited and put up. Okay.
I do have one quick thing to say. I'm looking
Okay.
forward to the October recap because
we have so many things to talk about.
I overshot my record from Spooktober last year by quite a bit, to the point where like it's kind of shameful. So I'm looking forward to talking about that.
I have a general idea of roughly how many movies Michelle watched in October, and you guys, it's disgusting. It's
I hope
like,
that my number is larger than what you thought it was. Otherwise, I am going to be disappointed in myself. But you can tell me what you thought it was during the October
I have
recap.
an estimate. Yeah. I don't want to tell you
I'm
on air
curious.
and give people an idea. But
Okay.
I also am feeling tired, and we need to get this out to the people.
Yeah.
So let's do that.
Yeah,
Say goodnight, Michelle.
Oh, good night, Michelle House LLC.
We Watch Shudder is a production of Rat Factory Media, your home for all of today's Rat Factoryist podcasts. The views and opinions of the hosts and guests of We Watch Shudder are their own and do not necessarily reflect the views and opinions of Rat Factory Media. But wait, aren't Rat Factory Media and We Watch Shudder the same people? Shut your cake hole, Charlie. Nobody asked you. We Watch Shudder is available free on all major podcast platforms, and the easiest way to support We Watch Shudder is also free. Just leave a rating and review on your platform of choice. Merge your consciousness with ours on Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, and Twitter. We're at We Watch Shudder on all those social media platforms. Or find us the old-fashioned way, on the web at WeWatchShudder.com or by email at mail@WeWatchShudder.com. Heck, you can even leave us a voicemail at 701-566-9510. No, seriously, 701-566-9510. Try it if you dare.